Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are. I hope you're having a fantastic day. It's SoulSaint here, and we are on the free-to-play account. I'm going ahead. I started us off with a little bit of like clan boss to kind of show you guys where we're at. But I wanted to let you guys know about some points of progression. I know it's been a while, but I wanted to make sure that you guys are kept up to date about some things I've done and where I'm looking to go from here. So, with that being said, I don't know if you can kind of see it on the screen. I'm hopefully not in the way, but we have recently gotten to a point where we've acquired not one, not two, not three, 4+ legendary champ, or not legendary, but like 6-star champions fully ascended. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I've been kind of working on the same. I'm keeping my same trajectories, keeping my same plans, and then I've also pulled some things on the background. I didn't think I was gonna get anything good, and then lo and behold, we got something good. So I'll show you the new champion we got here shortly. But to show you how the roster kind of hasn't really changed too much, but I will say that like in terms of like other things kind of being affected. What happened is that, like, over the course of the last couple days, the big things that I tried to do in following sequence was aiming for getting 6-star champions, right? That's the biggest thing, trying to get each one of them 6-starred, and then eventually leveled up. The next thing was actually mastery. So if you guys see my last video about the free-to-play series, we actually just recently got to a point where we were making pretty good strides in progression, and we got to a point where we were able to farm at stage 15 of Minotaur, so the highest stage you can go to. So I decided that as I was getting more and more 6-star champions, like in particular, like with Skullcrown, between Skullcrown and when I got Rathalos upgraded to their 6-stars, I decided to start putting them less at farming on like the 12-3 side and more inside Minotaur. So, believe it or not, amongst both of them, I believe they still got a little bit more they got to finish up, but for the most part, we got all the way down to the tier 6 mastery. So, in terms of masteries, they're pretty much on the scope of being done. I think for both of them, they're missing like 2 particular masteries, like for deterrence and the defense tree for both of them, and like the last 2 ones that you would normally get that have to do with like counterattacking. So, with that being said, take a guess at what Demon Lord difficulty this is, and look at how far we're starting to progress. I think hopefully things go well. We kind of maintain a similar trajectory of what we were doing before, and it looks like we're kind of holding up pretty well. I think we're going to be losing some champions here. Yep, sure enough. But I won't lie, like as we're getting more and more output from these guys, it looks like we start to hang in there a bit more, and we're starting to make a pretty good stride. The damage actually comes out pretty well, and that's something I was kind of impressed about. But roughly, oh no, experiencing issues. Roughly about like 6 mil, if you guys could see it. Well, that's new. Let's see what happened here in the game. All right, so we're back. I don't know what happened there that caused the account to free. To have to relog in there, but it looked like it was just like a little bit of a connection area there. So I was able to get like roughly around 6 mil, but we did it on brutal. So this is a key thing I want to kind of keep you guys in mind. My previous attempts have been roughly closer towards like the 7 mil range, but I will say this: the night chest is already acquired here, and I think that per chest, if I get pretty much close to about like 6 or 7 mil on regular basis, I could probably even consider getting like 3 key or maybe even 4 key depending on the damage output. Into a top chest for brutal, which is a new Accolades. It's a new milestone that we were able to hit, so not too bad there in that regard. On the same note too, I wanted to show you guys a little bit of where we're at right now currently on the account. So we are, as of today, currently at day 24, day 25-ish of the account. So we got a couple hours before the next reset going into the account's day 26. We did get like a lot of energy to work with, which was kind of a nice boon. And then on top of that, the controversial deck of fate, as well as just some other stuff like champion training along the way that is also active, has been kind of a bit of a toss-up as to some of the things we're going to be kind of looking at. So in tandem with that, we have the fusion warm-up, which is currently meaning that it's going to be around the road here. So I want to see if I can get this to show up properly for you guys here. Every single day for the next 2 days or into the next reset, we're going to get a little bit more energy, and that's super valuable for us to work with, right? But also some gems, some skill tombs, and even some shards and lunar points. Now, lunar points may not seem like a big deal, and I haven't really talked about it too much, but it has been a little bit of like some sneaky resource allocation for your boy when it comes to grabbing some additional resources. So like some big milestones is getting like the energy, because we run on finite resources, so any little extra we can get is kind of opportunistic, right? And then in tandem with that, because we're not hitting Ultra Nightmare very often, any little spot where we can get some additional shards does not hurt. And speaking of shards, I did recently acquire just this YR. If you remember, in terms of like being close to the missions, I was able to finish that up. I did get a sacred, and we'll talk about our mission progression here in just a minute. But we did pull, and I don't know if you see him, but we did get ourselves a Mausoleum Mage. Now, is Mausoleum Mage a game changer for our account? I think so, and here's why. Not only does he provide a cleanse for everybody, but he also does a little bit of a healing, which can be very, very valuable depending on where you're at in the game. I kind of got stop-gated by the Nether Spider, and there's some key champions that I felt like were maybe not contributing as much. That could be like basically in a summary words, subbed out for favor of a champion that could give me the value I need to be able to push further. So I actually think somewhere down the road, I'm going to actually build this champion up, and we're going to use this as our way of getting a cleanse to maybe give us a little bit more time in the fight. It's a heal too as well, to maybe try taking on the boss and seeing if we can crank out some damage and clear him up. So with that being said, we've been doing pretty good against a lot of content, but I did like him as an aspect. And then on top of that too, just as another caveat, I even thought about maybe pulling an audible on one of the DPS champions and putting him in so that we could have that increased defense and the block debuff effect on our team, so that we could do a little bit more and go the distance a little bit more. So if you're not familiar with it, the boss does AoE 1 does some damage, AoE 2 normally does damage with a debuff, and then his third turn and final turn is a stun on a target that's either negative affinity or some other caveats that would affect his targeting of it, right? So having block debuffs and a cleanse basically gives us the opportunity to be able to not only keep ourselves from getting that debuff, and then also it gives us the ability to cleanse and keep our team alive a little bit more with a increased defense. So there could be some value in terms of being able to go a little bit longer in the battle of attrition. Remember, with survivability and our whole mindset about being a tankier style approach, whenever you don't have a certain couple of amenities like block damage or unkillable available, you gotta find your outlet. And strengthen and healing and block debuffs and increased defense are all great things that this champion provides. So I'm actually going to invest into him. And then at the worst case scenario, even if he doesn't make it as a permanent spot for my my clan boss team, Faction Wars Undead, very valuable. And then on top of that too, he could be valuable for some other areas where, what if we get like a seer along the way? He would be a very big complementary champion to that, because he gives buffs as well as an outlet for her to really pop off on it. This is actually one of the original combos. It's Mausoleum Mage and seer, believe it or not. For those who know, you know. And in terms of like progression where we're at right now, a lot of what I'm doing is been a balance between like setting up some of my food to get us a little bit further progressed, and I've been trying to keep my resources down as much as possible, but we've been constantly just grinding out food, grinding out silver at 12.3, and I won't lie, we have had one of the concerns I have is still kind of a present problem, although I want to show you guys this here in a minute once I get done with this here. Gear has been one of the things that's been kind of like a conundrum for me. It's like, man, I either have my answer or I don't, and sometimes I feel like I don't. But then I go after these recent changes of like taking my champions, investing into them more, as you can see. Each one of them has some masteries. I still have like 1 or 2 left, and honestly, like I'm almost on 1, so that means I have like basically 1 left. Like basically a couple more runs will get me there, right? The same is true for Rathless. I got him down to Brimstone or War Master, and also now that I mentioned it, I did find his blessing in the shop, and I grabbed it, and I think I landed on Brimstone, because it's a great debuff to get a lot of damage out of Clan Boss. Now, with that being said, his kit doesn't typically tailor around building accuracy, and since it's a tier 1 blessing, it is accuracy dependent, and it'll tell you in general that you're going to need accuracy to be able to land it, I believe. And on that note, I will probably build him up again, do another pass-through, and see if I can get my hands on some more accuracy to start landing that Brimstone. And that could open the door for me to not only do that 4-key Brutal, maybe I can break it down to a 3-key, maybe I can break it down to a 2-key, and then I can dip the excess keys I have until we unlock Nightmare down to the lower tier, like hard, and get some extra rewards there. Maybe, you know, expand more on our resources there, right? And then in addition to that too, someone, although like I would say he's kind of in the mix of being replaceable / usable, I've actually been impressed with Oathbound, man. I finally got around to doing some rebuilds with the gear I did have, and all 5 of my members are a lot more effective at being able to do what they're able to do. Now, mind you, there's still some pieces I would like to take out, and I would find like an actual piece for people to use, maybe some replacements for some lesser valuable, like, you know, resources or you know, accessories or whatever we have. But with the little bit I've been able to do, I've been noticing that the more and more I work on these champions, it's like, man, this guy's kind of not bad. And I have to say, the unsung hero of my account so far has been Oathbound, funny enough. And here's why, man. The decreased attack is already valuable. The turn meter drop is even more valuable. The block actives and the reduction of like damage output by being able to control people has been monumental. Tag Team Arena, just PvE content in general, the amount of intake we've taken, and I'm just going to kind of show you this a little bit, has been substantially a lot more valuable. And I won't lie, like, it's been an eye-opener as to, like, the value of what decreased attack is in early game progression. So let me show you. As of right now, we're currently in this mode of trying to push as much as we can. I went from, like, barely being able to do, like, stage 14 or 15 or 13, somewhere around the lines here between these three, to I immediately just started progging and pushing. And I almost want to say that with a little bit more of a tune-up, I could probably do 19, which means I'm one stage away from being done with this entire keep in terms of being able to hit the top end side of things. So, and not only am I doing it at stage 18, and this has only been like 3 weeks in terms of account. We're not even a month old yet for the most part. We're already hitting kind of the top end of some of these stages. Like, for example, although I started to find a little bit of a roadblock, and I think the biggest issue with my account progression so far is that I need certain debuffs to be able to clean this up, or I need exponential amounts of damage to be able to burst through or brute force the mechanic, is I need some debuffs. Like, for example, Spirit Keep, I need heal reduction because my damage output isn't fully there yet, right? So getting that has been a bit of a conundrum. But in general, in terms of progression, I've been noticing that, like, a lot of my areas, like, I went, and I haven't even pushed this yet. I probably could push up a couple more stages and maybe even get closer towards, like, 18, 19, ideally even 20. And that's kind of like the new break point for me, is that, like, I'm starting to make more and more of an effort. Now, some key areas where I would say that some champion pool deficiencies are starting to arise is, like, stage 14. I got very, very close to beating it, and it's like, I came up short a little bit, and I think if I had better turn meter control, that'd be the play. And that will be where maybe that armature that I have in the barrel waiting to come out and do some work, and will start to pay off, right? In the same breath, too, stage 19. And I honestly think that with, like, a little bit of trial and error, although my team generally is pretty force heavy, which means it's pretty negatively impacted there, if I can get them to the boss fight, I think it's clear sailing. So something to keep in mind. I do know that we have a lot of damage intake, and that might be a bit of a conundrum there, but I'm getting closer and closer to the point where I'm stomping on stage 20 already, and that's with no spending resources, no luxury pools or anything around the lines, and that's kind of a good accolade. Now, I did push a little bit more into Fire Knight. I did find some hiccups there, and that's also where some new champions that I'm going to be bringing into the fold will hopefully pay off for me. But even then, it's still a little bit of an uphill battle, so I am looking for that multi-hitter, big turn meter reducer, maybe some AoE HP burn so we can get some value out of some of these out of the Spiderlings being in play, kind of leaning more towards what the original meta was for us in terms of progression. I'm trying to find those outlets, and it is a little bit of a conundrum, but nevertheless, we keep an optimistic approach, and at the very least, try to find our victories wherever we can. So if I could push our progression to a point where we hit some new plateaus, that'll be ideal for our usage in terms of energy. And mind you, my champions are still not done. They're still in their evolutionary phase, and I'm still looking for that 6-star champion, which I'm working diligently towards. I think we got enough now to take one champion up to 5, so I have at least 1 5 in the barrel, and I'm actually at the point now where I'm about to have my second 5 in the barrel. So that's going to be coming soon. Another little underrated boon that I've been doing is I've been progressing pretty hard in terms of making sure I keep this on a regular basis. Before these 2 hours are up, you're going to see me do these Doom Tower keys, and I'm going to get me something out of it. So fingers crossed we get what we're looking for. I may even build up a Mausoleum Mage and take him out for a test run to see what we can do. Even at level 40, maybe he can do it for us, you know? And that'll open up the door for us to progress. But I will say this, one of my bigger focuses right now is actually just to keep the grind going on champion training. It has been a little bit of a grind, but I will say that if I can get some additional resources along the way, I'm going to go as far as I can with this. So Primal Stones, Voids, that could be a rare, that's fine, that's food. That could be a breakthrough champion I'm looking for. It could be an epic, it could be a mythic, it could be a legendary, it could be anything. Same thing with Voids, even if it's a Void rare. If I get like a Cold Heart, that'd be perfect for my account, right? Or any other type of champion that would be substantial that you can get from like an epic standpoint. A Seer, a Demitha, a Maneater, any of those would be ideal. A Painkeeper. The sky's the limit in terms of opportunity, and I want to look at it optimistically and just show you guys that with the little bit I did have, I'm making progress and I'm making strides. It's all about using your resources effectively, but also on task, on focus, and you're staying on top of things as best you can. So chat trading is kind of a big focus for this account right now, although I know I've been just constantly grinding that out, and I do need to spend some time farming some gear, and I've actually been doing some things that will hopefully open the door for me to be able to maybe work some food in tandem while farming some resources like gear and whatnot, for example. But I've been working diligently towards that. So, for example, in terms of progression right now, there are some additional gear pieces that we can get. I don't look at those too fondly because it's kind of RNG at the end of the day. But more so than anything, the extra resources from silver to gems, which it can equate to more energy itself, which could be very valuable. And then along the way, making progression, I mean, eventually we'll be able to get ourselves a skill two extra skill tunes, which will be valuable for someone like Rathalos, who I've invested into, right? Getting clan missions for damage. This is all very doable for my account currently as it is. And I think that's kind of like an indicator that I should continue to push my progression missions quite far. I won't lie, it did slow down a little bit for me, but I feel like with the recent changes we made to our gear, like the builds got optimized with what we have. And then on top of that too, their quality went up from, ascension, leveling, rank, and then of course masteries. I have seen a burst of now another potential aspect of like progression, and it's really nice. Now, I am still kind of in the wheelhouse of trying to find some answers here and there in terms of PvP, and I do think that now it's a little bit more of a factor of gear, because I feel like just putting this out there alone, Skull Crown and Deacon are really, really good for this. And honestly speaking, as much as it's funny to say, I've been noticing a little bit of a value behind Rathalos kind of coming in, and he's hitting, he's doing his thing. So we already know that like Kale's a good starter early on, and he gives us everything we're looking for. But this team in general has been showing me time and time again that we're starting to see more value out of the investment into a champion. It's been very, very valuable for us, and I'm hoping to keep that level of progression constant and maybe ever fortuitous for us as we go along. So as you can kind of see, I jumped back into Gold 1. When I did my push yesterday, I was trying to do it on both of my accounts. It was kind of hard, and I ended up prioritizing my main at the end of the day. But as I was starting to do more and more PvP content, post upgrades, post masteries, I'm starting to notice now that I can see a couple of fights that were not easy for me to beat before or unbeatable for me before are now accessible. So I'm starting to get a little bit more riskier with my plays and trying to find some wins against some teams and whatnot. So like, for example, we got to watch out for Hegemon and some tankiness from these guys, but that could be a potential one, right? I've been actually taking on a lot more legendary type team fights and finding some victories here and there. Like, for example, this one may not be too bad. If I can get ahead of the team and I got enough speed on it, we could probably have like a really good value. Looks like we kind of came up short there, so the best thing I could do is set up and prepare. We got to let them get their turn. I'll go ahead and start with poisons out here this time. Do my A1 as a throwaway. Let's see how it goes. So we are going to take a bit of damage, and that's the thing that's kind of concerning. This may have not been the right team to go against, but we'll see. We'll see. Oh, we got stunned too. Looks like that might be the end of our run there. But, like, I've been willing to take on some more fights where it's like I just wouldn't even fight it because I was afraid. So, you're going to go and make your decisions. You're going to make your mistakes along the way. But I'm trying to find those victories wherever I can find them. And if I can, then that's great. Like, I'm taking on even equal opportunity type. Everybody can catch these hands nowadays. And that's what I'm looking for is, like, do I have something here as an option? And look at that. Like, a team that would be a little bit alarming because they have, like, a Delion and a Magna already fully leveled up. And those are very good champions. I'm willing to take that shot against him. Same thing here, right? Now he does have intimidating presence, or the presence for the epic, so his arena bonus, which is already higher than mine, is even better. And then of course these guys got almost full 6 stars. I'm willing to try this just to see if we have the speed on them and see if we got it. Looks like we're gonna lose this one though, unfortunately, because they're gonna be able to get ahead. And we're just going to get crushed by their damage output from there. Really, it is just a matter of just can I speed them up or not, or speed ahead of them or not. And that's basically now becoming a lot more, I'm getting a lot more comfortable with just like, let's take it on. Let's give it a shot. Like, for example, this one, I'll just say it. They don't have no speed lead aura. They have no booster, nothing around those lines. Maybe I can get ahead and do enough damage to lock them out and clear them up. Now, this is a pretty beefy team in terms of Artak and Sil, but hopefully with the damage we have, we might be able to close out and clear this up. It looks like they go for the stun here, which is kind of good. We're going to get this guy out of here as much as possible. So let's go ahead and hit him with the A2, and then now with the A3 here, which we're positive fitting, we get a win. So you notice how like the legendary factor, just seeing legendaries is no longer intimidating because we have confidence in the fact that we have been investing more and more ever so diligently with our team to make them a little bit stronger. That's not to say that every single team is beatable now. It's just saying that like we're now one step closer to taking on more teams that are a little bit more dangerous for us originally, and now it's like, you know what, maybe we got something for it. No, that's kind of scary. We just gave him an outlet back in, and I couldn't clear out the team here. It looks like we're going to lose this one, unfortunately, but the premise is still the same. I'm actually taking a lot more battles now, and hopefully that'll translate to some more rewards for Great Hall. I won't lie, the Great Hall did take a bit of a hit there in terms of focus, but we did get our first 4. I'm actually going to bounce around for 4s for right now, just to get ourselves up and running a little bit more. So, like, my next goal is probably going to be some accuracy on Deacon, and then I'm probably going to pivot to some more resource. I actually, since I've been rocking a lot more accuracy in general across the board, this may actually be more valuable for us now too as well. So I might start, yeah, as a matter of fact, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of pivot between accuracy, crit damage, and then of course attack, which all of my champions right now besides Oathbound are pretty attack centric. Oathbound is attack and defense, whereas A1 and I think some of his other abilities are like just straight defense. So I'm kind of tailoring my needs of my Great Hall, or building my Great Hall in tandem with the needs of my account currently, and I'm holding that true. Now I do believe that quality over quantity still reigns supreme, which is why you see me kind of dipping primarily into 1 or 2 stats as a focus, but I'm also doing that in tandem for this particular area. So this will be an extra book for me to use, which will be valuable. So as of right now, I'm kind of leaning towards maybe I see this through to level 5. It is going to be basically, you know, 247 worth of gold medals, which is going to be a little bit difficult to acquire over the course of time, but maybe worth it. And then we kind of pivot between these two and get those up to 5, 3x5 from there, and then we'll see where we're at in the account, and then make some more changes based off of what we need. But let's stick true to the focus right now. Stay on top of our priorities and basically grow our account to our Great Hall to the needs of our account, and that's pretty much the main thing. So we have a lot of force actually centric type champions, and I'm just going to include my vaults here, which have some champions that I'm working towards future projects for. But if you take a look at it, like Mausoleum Mage, Oathbound, and Rathlos, and even Alika, if we're going to put her in the swing of things, maybe for TTA purposes, all of them are force, so maybe going accuracy could be a good value there. Whereas like Spirit, Void, and Magic are a little bit lesser, although we are starting to acquire a couple more champions, which may be fortuitous for us to consider, but we'll see. At the end of the day, the whole point is just to do stuff that helps and complements our account as we're making our progression. So with that being said, how are you guys doing on your free-to-play? Let me know, and I'm curious. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and at the end of it all, I hope you guys take this experience as a mindset that I would like to impart with you, is that you can do anything you set your mind to. And even though it may seem that it's a little slow at first, and you may seem like you may not feel like you're making progression, one step forward a day can be the game changer to a lifetime of success. And I'm not even kidding you when I say that. I don't know where that came from, but you know, we're dropping facts today. And I want to encourage you guys, if you're coming through hardship on your account and you feel like I made too many mistakes, or I've made a lot of mistakes that I feel like are impactful, it is never too late to course correct. Now, instead of just doing a whole bunch of 50s and a whole bunch of 40s and whatnot, get each 60 online. You know, maybe pick one champion who's like, you know what, this guy will get me to the next step, and work on him and build him and develop him, and maybe follow along with what I'm doing on my account. You know, I developed an engine early on, which is actually further improved now because I'm using Skull Crown. And then I started perfecting the next champion, and I started perfecting the next champion, and now I'm perfecting the next champion and the next champion, and eventually it becomes full circle, where the combination of those, which you should also have in the back of your head, will contribute towards something. And I didn't say this before, but maybe I can give you guys a little bit of a tip about some things I look for in terms of a team composition. Deacon was a no-brainer for me from boosting standpoint, meaning I get more turns, which means I'm more active in these fights. Decreased defense from an AoE perspective, it's great to get damage out. Leech is a great opportunity to be able to sustain yourself. If you notice in Clan Boss, they were getting low, and then they would just shoot back up to full health with more Master procs, Giant Slayer procs, as well as their own damage, getting enough Leech back from not only lifesteal, but from that Leech is really good for them to survive, right? So survivability was one of those things we talked about, right? In tandem with that, Kale is a great poisoner who gives a lot of good early game damage to Clan Boss, as well as Dragon, which are two big important areas in the game. Poison is a great outlet for damage from a percentage standpoint. And of course, he also has a pretty good clear in terms of wave, because he also fills turn meter for each killed enemy with this ability. So if you kill 4, you're practically getting a whole nother turn, and you'll see that quite honestly a lot in some of my spider runs. He's constantly cycling because he A2s, and he's wiping the board, and he gets another turn, he A3s, and then cycles back into it and does it all over again, right? So very good value from a damage standpoint. That's literally what he's there for. Skull Crown, believe it or not, was kind of like the happy grab, the unexpected grab in terms of like shards, and her weaken is actually really, really good. So decreased defense, weaken, two great areas of debuffs to allow you to do on-hit damage more effectively. Debuff damage from a poisoner standpoint, your on-hit damage dealer himself, so that's what this setup is all for, and having him be another complementary aspect behind maintaining decreased defense against bosses. And then, of course, believe it or not, the underrated unsung hero, yet again, decreased attack. So decreased attack, decreased defense, weaken, which are like your trio for doing damage, and then, of course, boosting, leech for sustainability, and I'm even talking about now other buffs like defense. Finding a combination of those to further complement your team is kind of a really good way to bring yourself up to the next breakthrough. So these are why my choices of why I decided to hunker down and invest into these champions even more. And I hope you guys use that as, maybe you don't have an Oathbound, but you have somebody who does something similar with an AoE decreased attack, or something with a turn meter reduction, or someone with a decreased defense. Think about your War Maiden, for example, that you can acquire. She also brings poison to the table, so it's 2 for 1. Use those in combination with all the things you may acquire in your account, and that may give you what you're looking for, right? And then, of course, as you develop your account more and more, you'll start seeing those breakthroughs, hopefully. And always, don't be afraid to take that next step, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to get that loss in arena, but I'm going to take my shot at this team and see where we're at. And then from there, maybe you can learn, okay, maybe I need a little bit more speed, and that'll be the thing that'll win me that fight. Or maybe I just needed a little bit more damage to kill out that Seth Ollie, so I wouldn't have to worry about her healing up that Artec, and we won't have to worry about a battle of attrition, right? So like, those are things I'm keeping in mind. Now, with that being said, I'm still holding true to my mindset, and this is why it's kind of slowed down in terms of gearing. I am on standby. I'm staying on top of this as much as I can, and as of right now, I'm currently level 26. I'm about to unlock in the next update with the next dailies, hopefully some more rewards for materials. I'm going to try my best to hold off on spending them as much as I can until we get to the point where we either acquire the level 50 rewards, or we acquire enough to justify a crafting session, which we'll maybe try to do during a CVC window. And the reason why is this: I feel like a set bonus like this for the Wrathful set would be probably top tier for someone like Skullcrown, maybe even complementary to some champions who do a lot of AoE damage. Like in particular, every second use will be an AoE. This is always an AoE, so that's technically almost 2. I'd say 1.5 if you want to go there. And then she's non-stop AoEs. Both her abilities are just attack all enemies. So I can see some value there. And then, of course, Deacon with his A2 could technically benefit from it from a damage standpoint, you know. I'll have to plug and play it. We'll have to see based off of the type of pieces we get. But in general, just bringing up the quality of this, for example, could be the game changer to give me a stronger arena farm team, or a stronger output from clan boss, or a stronger wave clear team. You know, it's a lot of opportunities that can be grabbed there. And as of right now, I'm still kind of crutching a lifesteal, but once we take this away, we can give this to another champion, maybe further complement him up a little bit more, or to the next set of people. You got to think past your first 5 team too as well. And with that being said, I know I'm kind of going on a tangent here, and I'll kind of wrap it up here shortly, but some of the champions I'm holding on to, like Athel, I'm holding in favor of maybe being a boon towards my Fire Knight team. I need multi-hitters a little bit more there. Frozen Banshee is another upgrade to a poison champion. If you can get the resources to enable her, she can be very, very strong. Mugstalker is really good from a sleep standpoint. He'll also be great for like faction wars. Berserker actually was on my main account a surprising contribution towards Sidious and Tranos and Hard, as well as just general a damage dealer for some secret rooms and whatnot. So maybe I get some wins there. I got Gallic. At this point, I'm just waiting for my El Hain, and I'll have the full starter trio, and I'll be better off for it. Valerie for maybe some shielding and some increased attack options. Also Bannerlords. Like, I'm starting now to expand the teams out to give me a little bit more to work with, and I'm hoping to invest in these champions as we go along, which is why the grind for food kind of doesn't go away very quickly early on. Even if you get your full, like, even after I get Oathbound, I'm thinking about bringing up Mausoleum Mage and Athel and Armiger, and that's going to come with time, but it is something that, like, takes time, right? So you got to work on it. So don't be disheartened, is all I'm saying. You can achieve anything you set your mind to. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and always remember, stay ascended.
So it's 100 on the